Hey everyone, Dumont Owen here. It is noon on Wednesday, my favorite time of the week because we're going to talk about personal branding, LinkedIn, and specifically today, we're talking about goals. Here with me, I have Pat Schultz. Pat is she's a success coach. She's a speaker coach. And she is and is also a transformational speaker, which I love that. I have to ask you what that's about. And she's the owner of Ready for Takeoff. Um, is it Ready for Takeoff? Is that the whole
Ready
name of
for
this?
takeoff.
Okay, so Pat, when I was preparing for this, being a LinkedIn person, of course, I went and checked out your LinkedIn profile, and you have on your banner, you have a question that just really spoke to me. The question was, do you want to finally break free? And I have to tell you, that just jumped out at me, particularly the word finally. Um, and I'm wondering, what does that question mean? What are you getting at there?
What I'm getting at, Dumont, is people keep putting off what they want to do. And they put it off and they put it off. And they bury themselves in doing all kinds of things. And they think if they're in all these programs and if they're working on all these things that they're making progress. And they really aren't. And they're so stuck that they just can't seem to get to that next level. Now, I work with primarily entrepreneurs over 40. And,
Okay.
you're 40, you get past 40, and you're thinking, am I ever going to make this happen?
Right.
I'm going to finally grow my business. I'm finally going to make the six figures. I'm finally going to do what I want to do. And, the clock is ticking. So when I ask people, are you really ready? Are you finally ready to break free and do what you need to do to move to the next level? And it takes commitment.
Yeah, and I'm wondering because you said, people over 40, and that is kind of a magic number because it does, at that age we start taking stock, and it's like, okay, we're somewhere around the halfway point, what do I do from here? And, I think many of us who are entrepreneurs, well, I'll speak for myself, I've been on that verge so many times in my mind. This is going to be the year. This is going to be the time I make it. So what happens between setting those goals and feeling like we really know where we're going? What happens there that we don't actually, I don't think is it commitment? Is that what gets in the way?
There are several things that get in the way, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later on when we specifically discuss why goals fail. But
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an example. I have been
Okay.
in networking groups, and they have an icebreaker question. What is your goal for 2022? I'm
Oh,
surprised at how many business owners will say things like, I want to grow my business. I want to increase my marketing. Well, what does that mean? All right.
yeah.
Do you want to grow it in money? Do you want to grow it in clients? When you say increase your marketing, what kind of marketing are you talking about? How
Yeah.
do you want to increase it? What percentage increase do you want? And I think that sometimes people are afraid to specifically say what they want because they're afraid they won't be able to do it.
Oh,
And they don't want to feel like a failure. They don't want to set this goal and then not reach it because they'll feel like a failure. And
yeah.
they'll be frustrated. Their self-esteem will hurt. And fear is behind a lot of reasons why we don't do things that we would like to do. The fear of failure.
Okay, so how does that show up, that fear of failure?
We don't do the things we know we should do. So I have asked on social media, what's the one thing that you could do that would help you with your business right now? And they say, focus. All right. And I say, well, if it's focus, does that mean you don't know what to focus on? Or you know what you need to focus on, but you're just not doing it. And they say both. All right. They
Okay.
say both, but there's a reason why we don't do what we know we should do.
Tell me.
And
I'm
we,
all
you know,
ears.
all right. And we have to ask ourselves, what is that? And it is a belief that we have about ourselves and what we think we're capable of doing. And because we have that belief, we don't do what we know we need to do. So let me give you an example of a
Yeah.
salesperson. All right. He or she goes through the company sales training. They know it backwards and forwards, but they're afraid of being rejected. So they're not making phone calls. They're not knocking on doors because they're afraid of rejection. Well, why? Well, you say, well, nobody wants to be rejected. Why? What's so bad about being rejected? We learned that it was a bad thing to be rejected.
Well, yeah.
And really, is it so bad? I mean, are you going to die because somebody says no? It's just a no. You know, when we're little kids and our mother gives us a plate of cookies, she says, go around and ask everybody if they would like a cookie. And if somebody says, oh, no, thank you, I don't want a cookie, that little kid doesn't care. He or she just goes
Right.
on to the next person. But somewhere along the line, we learned that when somebody says no, that's a terrible thing. And so we
Yeah.
need to get more comfortable with rejection. Do you think top salespeople care if somebody says no? Heck no, they get on the phone, they call the next person and the next person and the next person. But some people really struggle with that rejection. And that's a limiting belief they have. It's a belief they have that rejection is bad. And if somebody says no, then that means I'm less than.
Oh, okay. That makes sense to me. You know, one thing that I've found out about myself over the years of trying to change this is that I don't like making sales calls, and I think that's a large part of it. And another thing that I hear from people, particularly on social media, is that they don't want to come off as pushy or aggressive or manipulative, so they don't do anything. You
You know
know?
what I think about that? I think that many of us have grown up with the idea that there's something bad, something kind of sleazy about sales. All right. And
Yeah.
so we say, well, I don't want to come across as being pushy. What they're really saying is, I got this idea of what a salesperson is, and I don't want to be like that. And so I don't want people to think of me as a salesperson, because maybe they had an experience. We always talk about the used car salesman, you know, they have this picture in their mind of what they think a salesperson is.
Right.
And they don't want to be like that person. But who says that that's the only image of a salesperson? Not all salespeople are pushy. Not all
No.
salespeople are manipulative. You got to sell. And when you,
Or else you have or else you have an expensive hobby.
you know, but we have this image, oh my God, I don't want to be a salesperson. I don't want to be
Yeah.
perceived as a salesperson, because the image they have in their mind is that a salesman is a sleazy kind of person. And that is not true.
Yeah. No. I
It's
mean,
not true.
that's
We think it's true, but it's not true. And
so.
asking somebody if they want to purchase from you is not being pushy. If you don't ask, they can't say yes or no.
Right.
Think of that little kid going around with a plate of cookies. Would you like a cookie? No, yes. And then you go on to the next person. And that's
Yeah.
all we're doing in sales. We're educating, we're offering a service. And if people
Yeah.
say no, they say no. It's no reflection on us.
You know, that's a really good point. And I picked up on the word educating, because, you know, one of the things that I talk to people about is the buyer's journey. And, you know, the path that someone takes to purchasing something.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that basically there are three stages. There's the awareness stage when they know they have a problem, right? And then there's the consideration stage where they are shopping around for solutions. And research shows, and and then the final stage is when they actually make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Research shows us that 79% of people want to talk to somebody about the problem or solutions before they get to that decision
That's
stage.
right.
So we are, if we think of sales as sleazy, and to be honest, that has been part of my schema. I will admit that one. But if we look at that as sleazy, what we're really doing is we are denying a service and an opportunity to 79% of the people who could really get something and benefit just from having a conversation with us. And we're waiting until that decision stage, the person's ready to buy. Well, that's a little late in the game.
I work
Everybody's
with
looking for
people a
that.
lot in getting over their belief about rejection. And you can get over being rejected. You really can. You may think you
So
cannot, but you can.
So give me just one suggestion on how you can do that, Pat.
Well,
I
you
won't
need
ask
to,
you for the whole farm, but give us one.
well, it takes practice, all right? I don't wave a
Okay.
magic wand, all right? But you need to tell yourself, I love making sales calls. I like people telling me no.
Let's see how many no's I can rack up today.
Let me see how many no's I can get. I can't wait to get my 10 no's. The next one's a yes. There's no reason, and people laugh and they say, oh, well, that's silly. It's not silly. What's silly is us thinking that we are less than just because somebody says no to us. That's silly. I call you up, I ask you if you're interested in my service, you say no, and I hang up and I call the next person. It's no reflection on me.
So, but Pat, how do you get to that point in that? And I know you just said, you do these kinds of affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you get past the point? I mean, if I perceive someone as rejecting me, I'm probably not ever going to go near them again as long as I live. And I might just go hide in my closet for a couple of days. So not anymore, but there was a time
Mm-hmm.
when, yes. So is it just that practice and that repetition until it becomes like falling off a log?
Yes, repetition is highly underrated. Now, I want you to think about this. We are talking to ourselves all day long.
Mm-hmm.
That self-talk is going on constantly. Something is going through our mind. We don't notice it because it's so habitual. It's like that operating system on our computer. It's running, but we don't pay any attention to it. And so it's telling us, oh, you don't want to pick up that phone. Somebody might say no. You're going to be perceived as being sleazy. So you have to tell yourself over and over again the opposite. And when you tell yourself the opposite, for as long as you've been telling yourself it's sleazy, trust me, you're going to start believing that it's pretty cool to be a salesperson. It's just that you've been
Wow.
telling yourself that for so long. Now, people say, well, I did that 5 times and then I called somebody on the phone and, they said no and I still felt crummy. Well, 5 times isn't going to do it. Remember, you've been telling yourself this for a very, very long time. All you're doing is creating a new habit, a new way of thinking. And it's going to take you some time to practice it. And
Wow.
so when somebody tells you no and you hang up the phone, then you need to smile and say, I'm so glad that person told me no. I can't wait to call the next person. Because without you realizing it, I'll bet you your old thinking would tell you as you hung up the phone, oh my gosh, I don't like it when people tell me no. I don't think I'm going to make another phone call. We tell ourselves that. We don't even realize we're telling ourselves that. So you have
Oh,
to change the dialogue.
that really says volumes, because I know there have been times when I've gotten off the phone and I've just put it, that's it for the day. it's usually something to the effect of, well, you really screwed that one up, you
Yeah,
know.
don't say things like that to yourself.
Yeah,
And you do
somebody
it
once,
without even thinking.
I said something, kind of self-judging one time, and someone looked at me and he said, I don't like it when you talk to Dumont that way.
Mhm.
Dumont's my friend. I like her. Don't you talk to her that way. And it was such an eye-opener, to realize that.
When you make a decision to do something, you set a goal. Almost instantly after you set a goal, you start thinking of all the reasons why you're not going to be able to achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Gee, I would really like to fly to Hawaii. Oh my goodness, where am I going to get the money from? I can't take off of work. What am I going to do with the kids? Etc., etc. I want to double my revenue this year. Oh, I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't have the staff. I don't have the time. I don't know how. And it's the way we've been conditioned. When we were little kids and we went to our parents and we said, hey, I want to do this or that, what did they say? Well, how are you going to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
And we didn't know when we were little kids. So we said, I don't know.
Right.
And so we didn't do it.
Right. And we also got this message that, we couldn't do it.
Exactly. Exactly. So what I encourage people to do when you set out to do something, all those things that immediately pop into your mind, those are your critical limiting beliefs. And those are the things that you need to deal with in order to be successful.
Okay.
It's why people set their New Year's resolutions, okay? And by January, February, they've gone off the wagon, so to speak, and their New Year's resolution falls to the wayside. It's because they
Yeah.
haven't changed the way they think about it. So for example, you decide 2022 is the year that I'm going to get in shape, and you go out and you buy this treadmill and you put it up in your office or your spare bedroom, and you're going to be healthier and you're going to walk on that treadmill. Well, you're all gung-ho that first week of January. All right. And then the second week of January, well, maybe you don't do it every day, every other day. And, by February, you're hanging your clothes on the treadmill and you're not doing it. All right. Because in your mind, you're thinking, I don't really want to walk on this treadmill. Who wants to exercise on a treadmill? This is so boring. I hate this. All right. Well, if that's what you're thinking, of course, you're not going to get on that treadmill.
That's right.
And you need to convince yourself that you
I can't wait to get on that treadmill.
Exactly. And you think, but I really don't feel that way. Of course you don't feel that way because you've been telling yourself, I hate exercise all your life. So you kind of have to pretend a little bit to convince yourself that this is something that you're really going to start enjoying, that this is something that you're going to do, whether
So
you like it or not.
we change what we say to ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay. What are some of those other beliefs that can hold us back, Pat?
Oh my goodness. When I ask people what their big goal is, and then I ask them what they think is going to get in the way, money and time. All right. Money and time are the two. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. And if you look in your checkbook and you look on your calendar, you will see what you spend your money and your time on. So you need to decide, what am I going to spend my money on? And what am I going to spend my time on? And you need to make a decision that I'm going to do this, and then I will find the money and I will find the time. If you wait around until you magically have $100,000 in your checking account, you could be waiting for a really long time. Okay.
And you could also go through that entire 100,000 a lot faster than you thought.
And if you keep telling yourself you're going to wait until the kids are grown, the cat dies, whatever, okay, and you have the time, you're gonna go through your whole life and figure out you never had the time. So
Yeah.
you need to make the decision. And that's why I say, are you really finally ready to break free? You need to make a decision. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to find the money. I'm going to find the time. I'm going to find the resources, but I have decided that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make it happen. You don't need the money. You don't need the time until you decide you want to do it.
The commitment.
You have to decide first.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
So
you wait,
Pat, oh,
until you have everything that you think you're going to need, you'll never have it because you haven't made
especially
the
if it's money
decision to
and
do it.
time.
Exactly. You have to make the
Yeah.
decision first.
So Pat, let me ask you, I'm one of those people. I know there are others like me, I do go through the New Year's resolutions. Every New Year's I sit down and I don't go crazy. I usually have 1 to 3. Beyond that, I can't keep track. Well, obviously I can't keep track of them at all anyway, because here's what happens. I do it in January. I'm right on the ball. I'm moving forward. And then in February, I think of it as a continental drift, because it's so slow, you don't even notice that it's going. But by April, those goals I'll never look at them again. So what can I do that would help me, one, set those goals, and two, actually achieve them?
So, Dumont, I'm going to mention my 4 steps to achieving a goal. All right. And this is a worksheet that I make available at no charge to anybody who would like it. And I use these 4 steps with all of my clients. It's the 4
Okay.
steps to achieve any kind of goal you want. The first one is you need to clarify your heart's desire with absolute precision. You have to be clear on your goal. You can't say, I want to build my business. What does that mean? All right.
Yeah.
You can't say, I want to increase my marketing. You have to be clear on what you want. The second thing, as I mentioned, once you say what you want, all these obstacles are going to come in the way. All right. That's
Mhm.
your habitual way of thinking. You need to identify those and you need to write them down. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. What'll I do with the kids? Whatever. Okay. And then, and sometimes people don't get in touch with these limiting beliefs because they're so habitual. All right. But we got to zero in on those. All right. Now what's the opposite? What's the opposite? I have the money. I can find the money. I have the time. I can find the time. I can make time. Whatever it is, I can figure it out. And that's where you need to start convincing yourself that you believe something different. And then once you have these new beliefs, you need to start imagining what your life would be like
Mm.
when you double your revenue. All right.
Wow.
When
Yeah.
you double your clients. And you need to get that picture in your mind and you need to play it over and over and over again. It's like when you were a little kid and you'd put your Superman PJs on, and you'd run around the room, or you wore your princess dress and your little
Oh,
crown, all right?
yeah.
And you wanted to sleep in it. You played in it all day. So you want to start acting like that top salesperson. In fact, I had a client who went through this, and there was a top salesperson in her company who she admired. And we would say, what would she do? Would she be afraid to
Oh.
pick up the phone? Heck no, she'd be picking up that phone. She'd be a shark. So you need to start doing the things that that top salesperson would do. And if that's picking up the phone, then you pick up the phone. And so you
Mhm.
start behaving like that top salesperson. You start behaving like that internationally famous podcaster. You start doing those things that someone in that situation would do. Now, is that scary? Of course.
Yeah.
You're stepping out of your comfort zone. And quite frankly, that's why I ask people, are you really finally ready to break free? Because people think that they're going to be able to achieve something that they've never done before, doing the same old, same old. It doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. If you want something that you have never had before, trust me, you're going to have to do something you've never done before. And it's going to be scary. All right. You can't be doing the same old stuff and think that somehow it's going to magically double your revenue. No, you're going to have to be doing some things that you've never done before, and they can be pretty scary. But what you want, the desire, needs to be greater than the fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only way you can defeat fear is to do it. All right. Do it in spite of the fear. And where you get the courage to do that is that what you want greater than the amount of fear. So your fear level may be, you know, up here, but your desire level is way up here. You really, really want that. And so you're going to do whatever it takes. You're going to be willing to be afraid. You're going to be willing to make mistakes. You're going to be willing to do what it takes to get to where you want. And I don't mean stomp all over people, all right? When I say do what it takes, all right? You need to do what you need to do. And it's going to involve a lot of things that you're not used to doing.
Okay, and Pat, I know that you have a worksheet that goes through those 4 steps.
That is correct.
So I'm going to drop that in the comments section, you know, how to get that before we finish here. But boy, what you're talking about is just so important. And I know that in my own life, there are certain beliefs that I really need to work on now that I'm listening to you and thinking about it, because I'm one of those people who has said, this is the year, you know, and then things do. You're right. There is an absolute fear that sets in. For me, it sets in around making those calls, you know. So I'm going to practice what you said. I'm going to go out and write some self-affirming things, and I'm going to talk to myself about some of my irrational beliefs and see how that goes. And then I will call you my friend and see if I'm on the right track.
Absolutely.
Because
and that's why your New Year's resolutions start fading, because that old belief is very tenacious, all right?
yeah.
And it's going to be wooing you back. So if I say, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds, all right, but I still sit in front of the TV and I eat Oreo cookies, I'm not going to lose 10 pounds.
Right.
So I say, okay, I'm not going to eat Oreo cookies in front of the TV, but I'm sitting there in front of the TV and those Oreo cookies are calling me from the kitchen, all right? And you think, oh, a couple of Oreo cookies won't make any difference, all right? Because the habitual way of thinking is wooing you back to doing what you've always done. Oh, you don't want to get on that treadmill. Oh, you don't want to make those phone calls. Oh, you don't need to make 10 phone calls, just make 2. And we don't realize that it's pulling us back because it's our habitual way of thinking.
Yeah, so it's about forming new habits.
Yes.
And getting, and it sounds like it starts with getting really clear and really getting that, determining whether you are really committed enough to make it happen.
So that's the number one reason why goals fail. All right. The number one reason goals fail is lack of clarity and focus. Remember, I said my first step on my worksheet is to clarify your heart's desire with absolute precision. You want to know exactly what you want. You don't want to build your business. You want to grow your revenue by X number of dollars. You don't want to increase your marketing. You want to post on LinkedIn 3 times a week, reach out to LinkedIn contacts, 20 LinkedIn contacts per day, whatever it is. You want to be very specific. And again, the reason people don't want to be really specific is they're not sure they really want to do all the things they're going to have to do. And they're afraid that they're going to fail. So
and fear of failure is just, in our society, fear of failure, I think, is just through the roof. You know,
absolutely. We were brought up that failure is not a good thing, and failure is fabulous. Failure tells us, okay, what I did didn't work. Now I can try something else. It's a learning tool. It's a learning tool. but we look at it as something awful. I mean, we all remember those big red X's on our papers when we were in grade school, or the disappointment on our parents' faces if we came home and we had a bad grade. All right. So we need to adjust our thinking about failure and welcome it, because
Okay.
it gives us a clue. Hey, that didn't work. Maybe I need to try something else.
So failure as a learning experience.
Yes. Yes,
Okay, yeah, that makes
absolutely.
a lot of sense, and I really appreciate that. And I have looked at your worksheet, which I am going to be sitting down and doing this weekend, because it really is very focused. And now, having talked to you, I understand that process. So I'm going to really look forward to doing that, and I'm going to drop that that link in the comments section. And you know, Pat, what you were talking about and what you were saying is just so important, because so many of us are in that place. So many of us, you know, look at that question, and you know, I'll be honest, it shook me up a little bit. You know, are you finally, or do you want to finally, you know? Okay, that's a pretty definite thing. You
You
know,
know,
it's a yes or no question.
we're telling ourselves, oh, I want to be successful and I want this and I want that. But deep down inside, ooh, I'm not so sure I can do that. I'm not
Yeah.
so sure I'm ready to do what I'm going to have to do in order to reach that. So I'm just going to be like real vague. And then whatever happens, happens. And, you know, you can invest a lot of money in a lot of systems, okay? A website, social media, an email campaign, a CRM, time management systems. All these things are important. What's really important, though, is how you think about those things. All right. How you think about them, because if you don't think they're going to work, they probably won't. And you won't
Okay.
use them. It's like investing in sales training, and then you don't actually use the sales training because you're not setting up any sales calls. Well, what was the purpose of investing all that money in sales training if you aren't going to use it? And we do this. We think if we just buy this program,
Oh
all
yeah.
right, then everything will be fine. Well, you buy the program, but you don't do anything with it. You have to get
I
that.
call that our digital bookshelf. You know, where we've got all these digital products that we're going to get to someday, and I have a bunch of them that, you know, that I haven't gotten. Some are free, some were very expensive, and they're always, oh, if I just do this, I'm going to be successful. And, you know, to a certain degree, you kind of have to decide what success means to you, and then what you're willing to do for it. At least in my case, I do. But you know, the process that you've talked about sounds really doable to me, and so I'm really excited to share this with our viewers, and also, you know, to just see how it works and actually go through that process. Now, I know people are going to want to know how to get in touch with you, Pat. So I'm going to put all your contact information, you know, in the comments. But I noticed when I was on your page that you're doing something, you have a program going on this weekend. So I was wondering if you could tell us anything about that.
Thank you. Yes, I've been asked to speak at a brunch, a Saturday
Ooh.
brunch, to create a vision board.
Oh, how
And
cool.
you know, vision boards are very mainstream now. Everybody's creating a vision board.
Mhm.
And what do you do with your vision board? When you're done, you go home and you put it behind your desk or the door or in a closet, because it's big and it's in the way.
Yeah.
And again, a vision board is very important. I'm going to teach a technique called visioneering. Visioneering, if you look at the definition, is a process. And it's a process that's used to take an idea, and what you put on your vision board are ideas. How do
Okay.
you take those ideas and make them a reality? And that's what I'm going to be teaching at this brunch. So they're going to make the vision board, and then I'm going to teach them the next step, which is visioneering, so they can take the ideas on their vision board
Wow.
and make them a reality. And I think that that's the way that I would like to wrap up my thoughts. You know, I've been talking about your mindset, things that you say to yourself, writing down what you want, being really clear on it. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. You can't just sit there and say, I'm a wonderful salesperson and people love to do business with me, and then sit in your house and do nothing. All right. You have got to get out there and take action. All right. You need to
There's the
start.
rub,
Yeah, that's
huh?
the rub. Oh, you didn't say I was going to actually have to do something. All right. You remember I said you have to do something different if you want something different, and you have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to take action, and that's where a lot of people fall down, because they're held back by this thought process that's going
Yeah,
through their mind. So it's a combination of deciding what you want, changing the way you think about it, and then getting out there and doing it.
yeah, yeah. That's so it's that simple when you think about it. It's clarifying what we want. It's deciding how we're going to get there and then taking action,
And
right?
not being so destroyed because you did something and it didn't work. All right. That's
Yeah.
not
Oh,
the end of the world. Worst
yeah.
things
It's
can
that
happen.
whole what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. That's what comes to mind. Well, Pat, I'm gonna look over here real quick and see what kinds of comments. Well, we have a hi Pat from Thomas, and but he didn't ask any questions. But I think there are going to be a lot of people who have questions about this. So I'd like to put your information in the comments. And for those of you who are not seeing this live, the brunch is this Saturday, the 28th,
29th.
29th.
Mm-hmm. So
Calendar
if you're in
challenge here.
the Cleveland area, it is an
Okay, and so
in-person
I
brunch.
will put that in the comments, and also how to get a hold of you and move forward with that, and the link to the worksheet. Now, some of you have been asking me about when the next LinkedIn success class starts, a LinkedIn strategies class starts. It starts next week. And we only have a few spots left. So, I don't want to tie up a lot of time here. If you're interested in hearing about that, just shoot me a note and I will absolutely get you the information. So, Pat, excuse me, this has been so enlightening, especially for me, because I am one of those people, like I told you, that finally really, it was like you were going, Dumont, I'm talking to you. So listen, I appreciate this so much. Do you have a final piece of advice that you'd like to share?
Well, again, please download my worksheet. Think about these things. All right. And set yourself a goal, be really clear on it, and just go for it. And try it out on something. All right. Where and I tell my clients, if you want to make $1 million and you only earn 900,000, are you going to feel like you're a failure because you didn't reach 1 million? I mean, set that goal, put your heart into it, work on your limiting beliefs, work on that self-talk, and then list the steps that you're going to take, and ask yourself, what would the top person in my industry do?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then do those things, whether you want to or not, whether you're afraid or not, you got to do them and see how it
Yeah.
goes. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get.
Wow, Pat, that is just so inspiring, and what I love about it is you have given us some logical steps we can take. So everyone, I'm going to drop those things in the chat or in the comments so that you'll all have them. In fact, hold on, I don't want to not do this. Give me a second here, Pat, and I will drop. Here we go. Okay.
I would like to thank you, Dumont, for inviting me on your interview series. I'm
Oh,
honored
you're welcome.
that you invited me. I'm happy to share the platform with you. And because I've known you so long, I know you are a person of integrity. And there are a lot of people on LinkedIn. So I want to just share my opinion for my 2 cents, if you will, that if you're looking for some LinkedIn help, you certainly can trust Dumont to do the very best job for you. You have
Well,
a lot
thank
of
you so
personal
much.
integrity.
Thank you so much. Yes, we do try and exhibit integrity. And before we get off, I just wanted to do one last plug, and that is we are both members of the National Association of Women Business Owners. And, you know, the chapter here in Cleveland is really, really great. They have wonderful programs. We've learned so much, and we make great connections like we are right now. So I just wanted to mention that because I think NABO is just a great organization. So, Pat, thank you so much. And I am going to have you back again
I would
because
love
this
to.
is just
Thank you
such a
so
great
much.
topic. So, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
unless I see any more, nope. Oh, it says there was an error in pasting the comments. So, everybody, what I'm going to do is it got a few of them in there, but not all of them. It did get, it did get all the ones for Pat, for yours. It looks like you have to cut and paste them, but they're there. But I will also send them out tomorrow for all of you who are viewing this at the, you know, not on the original or not live. And we will see you next week. Our topic next week is land more clients with a 4-part social selling system. So, Pat, thank you so much.
You're
I
very welcome. Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And see you at the next novel meeting.
We'll sign off.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.